Welcome everyone in the eighth session or eighth part of rotational dynamics. In today's lecture, we will see the total kinetic energy of a body rolling on a plane surface, or maybe it can be an inclined surface as well. Generally, the bodies that can roll on a plane surface, they are like ring, disc, cylinder, hollow sphere or a solid sphere. Now, we take into consideration a body which is rolling on a surface. It has some radius r and it's moving with some velocity v. The total kinetic energy that the body will be possessing will be of two different types. The first one will be the kinetic energy of rotation, and the other energy will be kinetic energy of translation. We call it as linear kinetic energy. So I can have that equation that total kinetic energy is equal to Ke rotation plus Ke translation, where rotational kinetic energy is equal to half I omega squared and translational kinetic energy is half mv squared. In most of the standard objects, we have a formula for moment of inertia, and I can say, for example, ring or a disk, you have formula as mr squared or mr squared by 2. In case of spheres, you have 2 by 5 mr squared or 2 by 3 mr squared. Whereas in general, for an object, I can write I is equal to m into k squared, where k happens to be the radius of gyration. So I'll have the total kinetic energy equation now becomes half mk squared omega squared. Now in this equation, I have written, instead of I have written it as mk squared plus half mv squared. Out of which I find that I take v as r omega. If I write that, kinetic energy now becomes half m k squared omega squared plus half m r squared omega squared, out of which if I take half m r squared, half m omega squared out, you get it as, inside the bracket, it's only k squared plus r squared as seen in this screen as equation number 2. What I do is I can take r squared common out again, and that term r squared omega squared outside the bracket, if it comes, it becomes v squared, and the total kinetic energy can then be written as half mv squared into bracket k squared upon r squared plus 1. That is equation number 3. Though we are deriving your equation of total kinetic energy like this, in practice, while solving problems, it is more easy for me to take into consideration that total kinetic energy is equal to half I omega squared, this equation number 1, which I am able to see on my screen, plus half mv squared, and instead of that moment of inertia of a rolling body, because all those objects which roll over a surface, they are the standard objects, and their mi about the standard axis of rotation is known to us. So it's always better I can put those formulae and I can have everything converted in the form of mass and the linear velocity of the object, or I should say linear speed of the object. So that was all about the total kinetic energy of rolling object. Now we come to a very important thing in rotational dynamics. There are two very important theorems we need to know. The first theorem is called parallel axis theorem. This theorem we can use to determine the moment of inertia of any two-dimensional or even three-dimensional object or a body, provided that the moment of inertia of that same body about a parallel axis passing through its center of mass is known to us. So first of all we will try to understand, or rather state, what is the statement of that parallaxis theorem. The statement says that mi of a rotating rigid body about any axis is equal to the moment of inertia of the body about a parallel axis passing through its center of mass, and the product of mass of body and square of distance between the two parallel axes. So IA is equal to IO plus MR squared. I am expressing that in the form of an equation. Now I need to understand what exactly this theorem statement means. In this figure, if you observe, I find that we have shown any irregular shape of a three-dimensional body. O is the center of mass of body. The mi of this body about an axis passing through O is known to us, and that mi is to be taken as IO. So this IO is known to us, or maybe a formula for IO in case of standard bodies will be known to us. A is any other point on the body. It can either be on the body or even outside the body. The parallel axis passing through A to that axis passing through O, if I want to find its mi about that axis which is parallel passing through A, then its mi, Ia, if I call it as that, Ia is equal to this IO plus entire mass of the body into square of the distance between that axis passing through O and axis passing through A. So that is R, that distance AO in this diagram is seen to be R, that square. We'll go for the proof of this particular thing, where we are considering a uniform rigid body of mass m. O is its center of mass, and we are considering the axis of rotation passing through A such that distance between A and O is equal to R. I want to find what is mi of body passing through an axis passing through A. That Ia we have to calculate, whereas IO, the moment of inertia about a parallel axis but passing through O, is known to us. To find this, what we consider is, we are considering body to be of course uniform, and we take into consideration any general point P in this figure at which some mass dm is placed. Then we consider what is the mi of that point mass dm about an axis passing through O. It will be equal to OP squared dm. Whereas the total mi about this O axis passing through O, that is IO, will be equal to integration of all such OP squared dm's. So I find it here that mi of dm about an axis passing through O is OP squared dm, then total mi IO is equal to OP squared dm integration. Whereas mi of dm, by chance it's written as suffix, it should be d normal m. Mi of that same point mass dm at point P about an axis passing through A is AP squared dm. So the total mi of body about an axis passing through A is integration of AP squared dm. Now we'll start writing its geometrical part, and from geometry I find in this diagram that AP squared is equal to AM squared plus PM squared, where of course that's by Pythagoras theorem, but AM itself is equal to AO plus OM. So if I put all this, I'll find that AP squared is therefore equal to AO plus OM bracket squared plus PM squared. So you solve it by simplification of A plus B bracket squared formula. Then on this side, right side, the last two terms, OM squared plus PM squared, that will be equal to OP squared. By keeping in front that diagram in front of us, we will find that AP squared is equal to AO squared plus 2AO into OM plus OP squared. Now I integrate both sides, multiply both each and every term by dm and integrate it, and that will give me that integration of AP squared dm, which in fact happens to be your IA, is equal to integration of AO squared dm, out of which AO is a fixed distance, that is equal to r, so that AO squared will be common outside the integration, so it will be r squared into integration dm plus twice integration OA into OM into dm plus integration of OP squared dm, whereas that last term integration of OP squared dm is actually equal to IO here. Then I find that IA becomes equal to this IO plus MR squared plus 2R into integration of OM dm, but because all the particles which are away from O, they are equally distributed on all sides, and that is why integration of OM dm by definition of center of mass will be equal to 0. So that last term in that equation number 3 will be actually equal to 0, and you find that IA is then only equal to IO plus MR squared. This proves your parallel axis theorem. This theorem is extremely useful, as we have said, to find what is the MI of any general body about any axis, provided you know what is the MI about a parallel axis passing through its center of mass known to us. The next that we are going to talk about in this video is perpendicular axis theorem. This is one more very important theorem in rotational dynamics. The thing is that you can use perpendicular axis theorem only when you have a plane or two-dimensional surface. You cannot use perpendicular axis to a three-dimensional object. So in case of a ring or in case of a disk, I can use perpendicular axis theorem. If you have a plain rectangular sheet, you can use perpendicular axis theorem. First of all, we will have a look at this diagram and then try to see what the statement means and try to understand what is the equation and its mathematical proof. So in this figure, I find that you have got a plane object, two-dimensional object, which is having uniform distribution of mass. There is an axis passing through O which is perpendicular to the plane of that object. That axis, if I consider it to be my z axis, then the theorem is telling you that moment of inertia about this z axis passing through O is actually equal to the two mutually perpendicular axes in the plane of the body which are passing through the same point O. So if that happens to be your z axis, I take into consideration x and y axis here, and that moment of inertia about x axis Ix plus moment of inertia about y axis Iy, that is equal to I about z axis, is what the theorem is going to state. Now we will speak about what the statement is. The statement tells you that the MI of a plane lamina about a transverse axis is equal to the sum of its moment of inertia about two mutually perpendicular axes in the plane of the lamina, such that all three axes are concurrent. Though this is a statement that is made by us or written by us, we can change here or there some slight words so that the contents are not going to be affected. So you have I with suffix z is equal to Ix plus Iy. Now let's talk about its proof, for which we have considered a plane laminar surface having a uniform distribution of mass, and once again, in order to find Mi about that z axis passing through O, we take into consideration two mutually perpendicular axes in the plane of the body. We will call them as Ox and Oy. Once again, in that plane, I take into consideration a small point mass dm, and because your x and y axis are in the plane, let us consider the coordinates of point P to be given by x, y, such that that point P is at distance equal to r from O, that OP is equal to r. Now, simple Cartesian geometry tells you in such a particular case, you have got r squared is equal to x squared plus y squared. So you multiply both sides by dm and you will get it as r squared dm is equal to x squared dm plus y squared dm. Whereas, what is the mi of only that dm about x-axis? Then I understand that dm is distance y away from x-axis. So about x-axis, the mi of that small dm is only equal to y square dm, and that's why entire ix about the whole body about x-axis is integration of y square dm. Similarly, I about y-axis of that whole body is equal to integration of x square dm, and same thing about z-axis, the entire object, its mi about z-axis is integration of r square dm. Now that earlier equation which we had, equation number 1, that r squared is equal to x squared plus y squared, if I multiply throughout by dm and take its integration, I'll come to the final equation that I about z-axis is equal to iy plus ix, which I can rearrange the terms and I can write it as that I about z-axis is equal to ix plus iy. This is equation number 3, which in fact I wanted to prove. So this proves perpendicular axis theorem. But once again, we all have to keep in mind that this perpendicular axis theorem can be used only when the object is in the plane laminar surface format. Now in the next video, we will try to have a look at what are the mi of standard bodies about their own standard axis. So that is almost the end of this particular 8th video session for us. Thank you for watching this video as well.